I'm Erin J. Doyle. Welcome to my channel. Once again being filmed in the conservatory on the dog's bed because I haven't figured out the lighting situation inside, but fa la la. Hopefully the wind isn't too much of a distraction. I was told this morning that we're getting a storm, but I was also told that just means it's windy. So I'm like, so storms all the time then? That seems a bit dramatic. But anyway, I'm definitely gonna have to do something about this background. It's unfortunate. Like, behold, the dog's bed, my flatmate's gloves. Where's the aesthetic, you know? Like, this might be okay for a video or two for vague amusement, but like, what am I gonna do with thumbnails? And, you know, people don't want to see this, right? Like, people want to see aesthetic bookcases with very carefully chosen knickknacks. People want to see like writing setups with, you know, ergonomic mouse pads and, you know, clicky keyboards and stuff. Dirty dog's bed, probably not so much, but you know, it's kind of like this or dark and grainy doom. So welcome to the dog's bed. I thought today I would tell you about my Isekai project, which is, for those of you who are unfamiliar or missed the singular video in which I mentioned it, this is, I wonder if you can hear that. There is an aeroplane. I'm going to assume that you can't, optimistically. So, the Isekai project is a new project that I started planning before I left New Zealand, and which I picked to be the thing that I focused on while I was writing my PhD, because it's kind of high nonsense, right? Like, I don't have to do any kind of research. There's no science element, there's no historical element. I can just go, oh, magic, done! So I feel like this is the easier project to pick when you're already doing research, particularly PhD research, which in theory shouldn't be notably different than working full-time as a researcher. Like, I mean, you're still doing research all day every day, but the stakes are different. So yeah, it's definitely more. Anyway, so what have I been doing? Well, mostly just moving to the UK. To be honest, I haven't actually worked on this project all that much beyond just continuing the planning. So previously I talked about how I had started working on a spreadsheet where I had basically just listed every single thing that's going to happen. Just like, you know, character goes here, speaks to this person responds to what they have to say in this manner, and this leads to them doing this. So it was very much like, you know, the breadcrumbs of the story and what event leads to what. And then I was trying to fit in, you know, specific, obviously, plot points, but also like where I had things that I needed to expand or being highlighted. I had like a whole video on it. I have continued. I am now up to 233 points, which seems like good progress. I think last time I talked to you about this project, I was probably, I think I'd only just topped 100, so like I've added a lot. Hopefully some of it's good. Oh yes, my next point on my list, I made a list so I could be vaguely coherent and film more quickly while my flatmate is out, because once she comes back this video is over. So I'm still feeling a little bit wishy-washy about it. So like, I've said that I've added all these points, but I feel like I have to go through and do like a new version of it rather than just trying to edit what's there. Create a whole new version. So I'm not kind of being held down by anything that's in there that's not quite right. I think what I've tried to do is make it too complicated. So I've got like the big bad, who may or may not be more than one person. When I say may or may not, I mean like I haven't decided if they have a co-conspirator kind of thing. So that's one of the things I'm still wishy-washy on. But so big bad, who may or may not be multiple people. And then there was like a secondary bad guy who was still very bad, but not quite as bad. And then there was a red herring character. And that's where I had the issue. it was kind of like each individual character worked, but how this villain was doing what they were doing at all was difficult, and how this person who was completely innocent was being accused of it was very confusing to me. Like, I just couldn't figure out how to make those pieces fit together. And I think my solution is to unbad this bad guy. And instead of the character that's currently set up to be like a red herring, instead of them being like falsely accused of being the villain because the actual villain is setting them up, it could actually be a different reason that people think they're bad, and the character that's currently a villain could just be not villainous, but maybe just like vaguely irritating kind of person that doesn't get on well with others without being an actual villain. Because I found that I didn't really have a motivation for them. That was the other thing, right? So it was like sort of logistically difficult to figure out how it was going to work, and I really didn't have a motivation for them except for like, they're a bitch, and I was like, well, that's kind of shallow. So that's why I'm still feeling a little bit wishy-washy, and I think if I create a brand new version of my spreadsheet without those bits in, and then just try and start from the beginning, each bit leading to another bit, and then hopefully I can kind of figure out by working from scratch with it where the things are going to fit in and how I'm going to fix that issue. I think I've got an idea, but I haven't written it down yet, so we'll see when I actually go to write stuff down, because I find like when it's still in my head it's still a bit too abstract and some ideas seem really rounded out, but when I write them down I'm like, oh, 3 bullet points. So I'm going to physically write it down and see how we feel about it. I am still really, what is up with my hair? I am still a little bit stuck on the ending of this book. So I think I said before, like, I'm tempted to just start writing it and see how I get there, but I'm nervous about that. Like, so my first ever attempt at writing a book, I accidentally tracked the character on a deserted island. And I was just like, and now what? Like, how do they get off this deserted island? They were in the Bronze Age, right? Like, there was no chance of them being found except by another person who was also washed ashore, and it was just this disaster that I persevered with, but that was a mistake. And I'm nervous that this book's going to do the same, like that I would start writing it in the hope that I figure out the ending and then just write myself into a weird endingless corner. And the issue has been that the big bad is very powerful. Like, it's sort of unimaginable level of power that this character has. So how does that level of power get taken down? And I know kind of how, but not specifically enough. So it's like, it's almost as if, like, imagine I was writing a book about like an evil dictator and I knew that they were going to get assassinated. Like, okay, cool, but how does the assassin get to them when there's security and all that kind of stuff? Like, it's that part that I don't get. Like, I kind of know who has to take them out and I know what ability they're going to use to do it, but I don't quite know how it's going to work logistically. So I've been umming and ahhing about that a lot, and it's holding me back from progress. But I get to blame the PhD for a little bit longer. I can just say, oh no, I've been too busy doing a PhD to problem solve that idea. But I really do actually have to sit down and figure this out. And I think I have a couple of options. And I've recently thought of something which previously wasn't possible because it would have conflicted with other stuff. But now that I'm talking about, de-eviling one of the bad guys, in doing so that allowed me to put some more thought into the red herring character because they were no longer being set up by that character. and I was able to think more about like how they ended up in the situation they were in, and maybe other forces were involved with that, and this kind of let me go down a more interesting world building option, which has led to, I think I can bring in a new character who has basically been trying to do something about the big bad for a long time, and then the main character of the book can basically buddy up with them and use their experience, and then like certain abilities of the main character will allow them to like fill in some gaps with what the more experienced but still struggling to beat the big bad new character has been dealing with. I don't know if that made any sense, but that's the plan. So I think I need to do a big rearrange. So we're doing a slight world building shift, de-eviling a villain, changing character's backstory, bringing in a new character, and thereby filling a knowledge gap that the main character has, whilst the main character fills in a capability gap that that new character has, which, you know, hopefully means that they are then able to actually go and confront the bad guy. I still don't know precisely how, but I think this gives me a better way of doing it than just having the main character be like, well, I'm very smart and I have a great idea, because it feels a little bit like, even though there's no white savior figure in this book, it's not like, you know, I have a character who's coming and saving the locals who didn't know how to fight off the enemy, rah. It feels kind of like that. Like it's not the same, but it feels a bit. And I feel like I'm accidentally making it sound like my book is racist, but that's definitely not what's happening. Like it's, you know, I don't know. It's not a character from a different culture coming and saving the day, it's a character from a different world. So I guess perhaps the parallel is the white savior figure, but ethnicity is not a factor in the story. Oh, now I'm doubting if my story has like unfortunate undertones that I hadn't considered. Shit. I think generally the story is making some progress. Obviously I need to re-establish the habit of working on it. There's been a lot of just doing a little bit of uni work over the weekend going on, which we are very much discouraged from doing. Like, my university is very much like, no, you work 8 till 5, Monday to Friday, and that is it. Any working after hours is meant to be like the very undesired exception, not the rule. But what I've been doing, particularly the last few weeks, is finishing up at uni at say 3, walking home because it's dark at 4, and that gets me, you know, 40 50 minutes out in the sunshine, in the not dark. So, you know, I get some fresh air. Theoretically I might be able to get some vitamin D at a very minor level. It's very overcast. And then at home I'll sit down and put another couple of hours in. And so this kind of works in terms of like, yeah, like mental health and physical health and like getting that outside time. But it does mean that I'm working later into the evening, even though technically I'm working the same hours. And I'm like, theoretically it should be no different than if I worked till 5 and then went for a walk after work, which is what I was doing. But it didn't get dark until after 5. So, and that made a big difference. So yeah, there's been a little bit of evening or over the weekend reading of stuff going on, so I have to like rein that in and try a little bit harder to get everything in within the standard hours so that my weekend time isn't seasoned with uni work. And I think then hopefully I'll be actually able to do these things on that to-do list. So perhaps I should work on it tomorrow maybe. And then hopefully next week I'll have another update. That seems optimistic. There will be another update though, just not next week. That's everything that I've managed to achieve with this project, partly because of uni, but also because I've started thinking about another project, but that might be a topic for another video. Yeah, I'm starting to be tempted by a different story to write during my PhD, and that's affected some interesting world building ideas for like the universe that all these stories are set in. But maybe I'll talk to you about that another time. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!